Hello, I'm Sam Marchand alongside Tori Wittenbrock, and we are introducing a new podcast here at the Press Times called Beyond the Box Score. Tori, thanks for joining me. It's something that we're super excited to bring on, and I'm an intern here with the Green Bay Press Times, the Press Times production. Tori, the sports editor here with the Press Times. And Tori, talk a little bit about your backstory with the Press Times before we get into what the podcast is going to be about.
Yeah, for sure. So I started with the Press Times as part of their internship program and fostering young people and getting them used to journalism. And that was in, I believe, February of 2021 or 22. And I did that for a while and then kept in touch, did some freelance work. And through my soccer career at UWGB, I ended up getting more into sports writing and everything. So then I came on board full time about 3 years ago, and now I do a little bit of everything. I still head up the sports section, but I'm also a news editor as well. And so, yeah, the sports is still the core of what I do here at the Press Times. So I try to put a lot of emphasis on high school sports with everything because that's really the core of the paper. And with Green Bay being kind of like a small town, but it's still a big market for us, and we have like 13 high schools to cover. So high school sports is really the most important thing that I try to cover because it's really important to get those kids a lot of highlights in the media that sometimes they get overlooked, especially when you're in a town that covers the Packers and everything. So that's why we wanted to bring in a high school sports podcast to continue to highlight those young athletes from the area.
Yeah, so we'll have the opportunity to talk with some seniors across the area and expand it out, focus high school sports and see where we can grow from there. What do you think, like you talk beyond the box score, obviously that goes beyond stats and what you do on the field or wherever you're competing. What is important to you about, meeting people and talking to them about who they are beyond just being an athlete who performs on the field?
Well, that's something that I've become really passionate about since starting to work with all these young athletes. Is when I first started, I didn't really know much about what high schools were good at, what sports, and any of the athletes or coaches. And I've gotten to be pretty close and have good relationships with a lot of the coaches and athletes in the area, and gotten to know, different styles of play for different football programs, and what athletes are good and where they're going to college, and following them up on their careers after they graduate and everything. So I just think it's really important to highlight these young athletes. And, I've been asked before about like, oh, how do you like not show any bias on the sidelines when it's like a state tournament finals game? And it's like, you know what, I'm a journalist. It's not my job to, pick a side or anything, but I'm always going to root for success for young local athletes that, are trying to win a contentious state finals game,
Mm-hmm.
and battling in the box for a goal before the end of overtime or something. So it's really cool to get to know these athletes' personalities on the field, as well as when I do post game interviews. And the kids are out from the area are always super respectful and super humble. So it's really nice to get to know their personalities on and off the field.
Yeah, what are you most excited for as we develop this out to kind of see the shy kids come to light, or is it the
Mm-hmm.
people with the big personalities? Like what is most exciting for you, like when you're watching those and seeing it happen? Is it the quiet kids who don't get a lot of coverage, or is it the bigger names who get a lot of coverage, but you get to know more about them than just he drops 40 points a game, or she's the best in the state?
It's really funny because sometimes the athletes that have the biggest personality on the field or on the court or whatever the sport is are sometimes the most quiet when you go to interview them after the game or something. So it'll be really interesting to bring them into this kind of setting where it's not, they just wrapped up their game and still have their cleats on, and they're where they can come in and actually talk about their personal experiences as a local athlete in high school and on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we're super excited about. The Beyond the Box Score came from, being more than just athletes. I'm a student athlete myself at Lakeland University, have been graciously granted an internship here, and have been able to work alongside Tori. And it's been a, unique opportunity and something I'm super excited for. And talk a little bit. I want to expand on the media network opportunity here. Of we're not just a local newspaper, and obviously we're the Green Bay Press Times, the newspaper of Green Bay. But what does it mean to expand the horizons, to go to TikTok and Facebook, and now have a podcast that's coming about after the last one kind of disappeared?
Right. Well, first of all, we're very happy that you're here. We have dabbled in the podcast world a little bit. We had a Packerland podcast briefly where we would interview former Packer players, and I believe we've had Jerry Kramer on and stuff, and that was really fun, but it was a little short lived. So I'm glad that you're here helping get us back into that medium. But yes, so we're multimedia channels. So yes, we are a newspaper, and that's the heart of the Press Times. But at the same time, we have been striving to kind of keep up with the times, and we've jumped a lot into social media. So now we've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, as well as the newspaper, and now the podcast as well. So it's really cool to be able to see the different generations of people that kind of subscribe to the paper and follow with what we're highlighting and everything each week. So we've got high school kids that, after a Friday Night Lights football game, you go up to do an interview and they're like, oh yeah, this is the Press Times. This is going to be on the Press Times TikTok page and stuff. So it's really cool to get that notoriety now from the younger kids. And then we get a lot of their parents asking for stuff on Facebook and in the newspaper, and grandparents cutting out clippings of their kids when they win the state tournament and get the front page of the sports page and everything. So it's really cool to see how all of the different generations of people involved in local athletics kind of follow with the Press Times and our different platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Something something that we're super excited to bring to Green Bay, and this opportunity, obviously, for high school kids. Episodes will start filming next week on Tuesday, released on Friday. So stay tuned for more of that. Also, shout out to Katie Likeness. She's going to do all the editing, so we have to give her a shout out and give credit where credit is due. But stay tuned, follow along. I'm Sam Marchant. This is Tori Wittenbrock, and we are the Press Times.